Hi, I'm Nathan Lynn.
And I'm Kristen Anderson.
We're here with the McCracken County Public Library today to talk a little bit about introduction to family tree building.
And our goal with this series is to help those of you out there who are interested in building a tree or researching more about your family history, and you don't know where to start, or you've started and you've hit a bump in the road. And so we're hoping that these little instructional videos will give you direction and kind of help you get over any humps that you may have.
I know I need lots of direction in my genealogy. It is it's a good camaraderie to talk to other genealogists, and if
Absolutely.
you don't have genealogists to talk to, maybe this can help you get over that. So
Absolutely. And you can always, again, come visit us at McCracken County Public Library. We'll be happy to help. But let's say you can't come down, or it's the middle of the night and we're closed. Maybe this video can help you out.
Yeah, or give us a call.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we do have a local and family history room here that we should say is always open to the public and staffed, that can get you plenty of help with your research. But today we really want to start off focusing on types of data that you can use to find out more about your ancestors.
Absolutely. There's all kinds of records that are out there. And today we're just going to give you a quick overview of what's there. We'll mention online, there are several different sites and things that you can use, and we'll talk about those as we go forward.
Sure. So I'll start. One very important record that you might be interested in using to find information about your ancestors or loved ones are census records.
Love the census records.
Yes, packed full of information. More and more information as the years go along.
Absolutely.
So there are a number of different census records in terms of the United States census records. State records, we have slave schedules, we have agricultural census. But what we're mainly going to focus on right now is the federal census, the United States federal census, which started about 1790. Now the 1790 federal census, if you're not a white male who owned property, you're not going to have much information about you on there.
Not only that, it was like first initial, last name, and they inferred a lot based on who lived in the same household, and it's good information, but it may not be the best information for you.
Luckily, as the years go along, the United States federal census start providing us with more and more data. So let's say by 1850, you're getting a lot more information. Name, age, gender of each family member in the household, the occupation, at least of the head of household, usually a birthplace, and if the person was married the year that it was done. And then again, by 1870, we have the first census to list formerly enslaved persons.
This is where I start finding all of my ancestors.
And you have an 1880 census, and then an 1890 you don't.
Sound cut out.
The 1890 census unfortunately burned in a horrible fire. And so from 1880 to 1900, the next census that is available, you've got 20 years that it's tough to do can be tough to do research in.
I have cursed the loss of the 1890 census many times. I had ancestors born in 1881 or late 1880, had moved out of the family home by the 1900 census, and it was kind of hard to piece them together with piece them together on my tree.
It's tough.
So I'm very sad about the 1890 census.
A major loss for U.S. history and
Indeed.
for genealogists.
Indeed.
But we do encourage you to keep going, because the years, as they go on in the 1900s, you get more and more information. And the most recent census that we have access to now is the 1940 census, which provides all kinds of information, including where you might have been living in 1935. So not only are you getting 1940 census information, you're getting a backtrack there a little bit.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. The next census to be available will be the 1950, and it comes out.
It's going to come out in, I believe, 2022. They do like a 72-year gap between making the census, between when they take the census and making it available online, more for privacy reasons, I believe, than anything else. I'm excited about the 1950 census. My aunt should be on there. My grandparents should be on there as a married couple. So I'm super excited to get my hands on that.
I'm pretty pumped too.
Yeah.
And your local library will probably have a big release when that comes out.
Ooh, that would be
party
fun.
or some sort. Yeah.
We should definitely have a party with snacks, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Always snacks. So utilize the U.S. Census for looking for information about your ancestors. It's a plethora of information, right?
Absolutely. Next on our list, what we call vital statistics. And we've got some government vital statistics, such as Social Security records, immigration and travel. If you've had relatives that immigrated here from another country, you may be able to find those records. For me, I found a lot of some relatives that went overseas for the military, and it shows when they departed and where they landed, so that was pretty cool. And this has names, dates, places, those kinds of things. And these are government records, so they are available no matter what state you're in, which is great. Because the next part I'm going to talk about is the birth records, death records, marriage records, divorce records, and those are available by the state and what that state wants to do. So what does that mean for you? Well, if your ancestors are in Kentucky, you're in luck. We have birth records available through from 1910 to about 1999. We've got some before that, but they aren't very complete. We've got death records through 1965. We've got marriage records until the 80s or 90s. Same with divorce records to the 80s and 90s. But other states, like some of our surrounding states, Illinois, I think, has death records, maybe, depending on if you're in Chicago. If you're not in Chicago and Illinois, you're not going to find a whole lot. Sorry. Missouri has some death records. Indiana has death records and marriage records. Ohio has marriage records, death records up to about the 60s, same as Kentucky. But there's not a lot of birth records, although Tennessee has some. So depending on where your ancestors are from, you may be more successful with that than some others. A lot of my ancestors are from Kentucky, so I was very successful in finding some of this information.
Yeah, those are tough. You need to reach out to the state you're looking at really for those records, or the county in terms of those, because it's really a case-by-case situation. And if you're not next to kin, sometimes it can be hard to get a birth record if it's been in a certain amount of time. So we encourage you to visit your state's vital statistics website that you're researching your ancestor in for those, probably.
One thing I forgot, phone records are also available, and city directories. Huge. City directories are cool. A lot of those, especially in the early 1900s, will have occupation as well as address and phone number. And these are United States records, so they're all the states. There's sometimes there's a little difference as to whether or not you get a birth, if you get like a month and a year for the birth, or you just get the year, that kind of thing. But for the most part, you can also get a full record that way, no matter what state you're in. Address, phone number. Sometimes they'll have multiple addresses. You can find all the places your ancestors lived. And these are pretty recent, up until like the last 5-10 years or so even. So,
that's the same with like Social Security records.
Yes.
They were online until a number of years ago, and I think they pulled a little of that information off. They had old Social Security numbers on there, and they thought maybe we should take some of that off. But that's another government record that's you can find some pretty recent information on your parents and grandparents through the Social Security Administration. Another type of record would be cemeteries.
Mm-hmm.
Cemetery records vary from place to place, again, and you might have to visit either the cemetery the church cemetery is at, or your county or city government to find these records, but they will give you lots of information, whether it be on the stone itself, or if you can find some written information in the cemetery book. It's going to give you name, place, date of birth and death, and it's often that your person you're researching has someone buried close to them
that you're also related
to. Correct. So that might be opening a door through those cemetery records and research. So reach out to to the places that you can and try to find information on cemeteries. A great place online to search is Find a Grave, and there's a lot of other online information about cemeteries that you can search. Just be careful of the information on those sites and make sure it's verified. And that's with any record that we're talking about.
Absolutely. Frequently, especially the ones that are user entered, the information isn't quite accurate. So I have to go out and I double check or double bind it with several other pieces of information to make sure it's correct.
Yeah.
And what I need.
Yeah. Sometimes with the cemetery record, you might get something like a file. If you were to go to a funeral home, which is a different type of record, a funeral home record though, sometimes funeral homes have a death certificate with it. They also have a maybe something like an obituary, which leads us to another place to find great information about your loved ones. That would be newspapers.
I tell you, researching, particularly ancestors, and my grandparents have passed away, and it's a little difficult to find information about their parents because that living person that could have told me about it is gone. But newspapers have obituaries, as Nathan mentioned, which will have kids' names, they'll have parents' names, birth, death, all of those things, and put together in one handy-dandy place.
Yeah. There's no telling what you'll find in a newspaper. Let's see. I found my father playing baseball in college.
That's awesome. I found that my grandmother's father owned a restaurant in Mayfield. Someone came in and stole the ribs from it one night. But that was something I didn't know. I didn't know he was a restaurateur.
It makes great family history.
Absolutely.
I love adding those types of stories.
Yes.
And newspapers are a great place to do that. And there's a number of places you can access those, both online and in-house. We'll talk about those at a later time. There.
Absolutely. School records are something that it's developing. They're getting more and more information. The thing that I'm really into right now is the yearbook collections that they have out there, because I found my mom when she was a senior in high school. I found a friend of mine. I found his mom. She was like the homecoming queen, and I sent him. I clipped the picture and sent it to him. He was like, "Oh my gosh, that's my mom!" So that is a growing collection. A lot of the yearbooks around here, we don't have very many of those. I think they have like maybe 7 or 8 Tillman yearbooks, for example. But where you can find yearbooks besides online is that? Downstairs in Family Local History or your local library.
That's right. You might even be able to find pictures of folks like ourselves.
Maybe. I don't think my yearbook's down there. I really don't. But I have found my sister's, and that was fun.
Send those yearbooks to 555 Washington Street, Paducah, Kentucky 42003.
Don't send mine. Don't do it.
School records are a great source.
Absolutely.
And you can contact a school and see if the administration might have records of your ancestor or the person you're researching there as well. Yeah.
I like it.
Get out there.
Another section of records, military records. And these are available free from the library. Fold 3 database, either here in the library with your library card, if you're doing it from home. For these records, you can find draft cards, especially World War I, World War II. There's some Civil War records, Revolutionary records. You said they're still building this database, correct?
That's an ongoing database, and I think a lot of that has to do, again, like we were talking about, when records are released.
Yes.
So if you're looking for a military record from someone in the last 20 years, you're probably not going to be able to find as much of that yet, but that will be released in the future, and you'll be able to access that, hopefully. So
I was able to find some of my ancestors, their draft cards, which had their occupation at the time, their next of kin. Sometimes it was mama, sometimes it was a wife I didn't know they had. So that's been very beneficial to me when I'm building my tree, building my records up.
There's some other various records like church histories, county history books, maybe with different family listings in them. Tax records, wills and probates are huge. Deeds, where you could find different information about your ancestors, and these could be accessed again at either the county level, probably,
Yep.
or at your local library would be another great place.
Something about the county level, actually, I was looking for my grandfather's discharge records several years ago, and he had actually had it recorded at McCracken County, at the county clerk, and I was able to get a copy of it and take to the VA to get him benefits. So you never quite know. There's, like I said, there's many different places where this history is out there. You just got to know where to look.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was pretty stoked.
That is great.
Because it may be buried in the house somewhere, but I wasn't going to find it. So that was much helpful.
He was a World War II veteran, correct?
World War II, absolutely.
Yeah, lots of different records to use. Photographs, oral histories.
Yes.
There are lots of oral histories that have been done over the last 50, 60 years that maybe your ancestor was mentioned in. Message boards online are getting, internet's been around a little ways now.
It has.
So,
but again, as Nathan said, we were talking about the find a grave. Take some of that with a grain of salt.
yeah. Verify your source.
Absolutely.
And we've learned more and more. We learn more and more daily how important citation is.
Absolutely.
So we encourage you to know your source and give credit where credit is due. Definitely.
So if someone wants to jump right in and start their tree, Nathan, where should they start?
We encourage you to come to the McCracken County Public Library or your local library, and usually there'll be a staff member at your local library that can help you get started with that. Here in McCracken County, we have a local family history room, and there are staff here that can help you get started with your genealogy.
Some of the things we have downstairs that I personally have used, well, I've really kind of jumped into this. I'm an amateur genealogist. There's books down there from all the counties, and I've used some of those to find marriage records. There's some census records in book form down there. We have paper records, the newspaper on microfilm, as well as you can access the newspaper online through newspapers.com. There's photos, there's all kinds of things in our library, and we know where to look for it.
We do, and we can help you find that. We also offer some databases online, as Kristen was mentioning, like Ancestry, Library Edition, Heritage Quest, MyHeritage, Sanborn Maps, Fold 3, as we've mentioned a couple times. And we can point you in the right direction to find these sources for data that we've mentioned today. So if you have any questions, contact us or your local library, and hopefully can be of assistance to you.
Absolutely. Now, as we said, this is the first in what we're hoping to do a series of these kinds of videos. We'll do a deep dive into the census records, which I'm excited about, and we'll give you some tips and tricks for how you can avoid false data or how you can verify your information or other places that you can look. So this is just the beginning, and we hope you join us for future videos when we get those recorded.
Yeah, stay in touch with us at www.mclib.net.
I'm Kristen.
I'm Nathan.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks.